Hi. What's up, people watching? We have gotten into some virtual communication. We've joined the 21st century. Right now, I'm actually looking at lobsters, so it's weird because I'm like talking to you, but I'm talking to him,
Like always.
like always. For a test run, I figured we'd do like there was an article that came out that Randy Moss said Jerry Rice is like the third or fourth best receiver ever. A, that's ridiculous. But B, I kind of get where Randy's coming from in a sense that, yes, I should say that I'm number one. I get that. I get that because that's an attitude and that's why you're so good. But saying that somebody else is better than Jerry Rice, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
That would be like Harden saying he's better than Jordan right now. It's just not the case. And what are you trying to gain? You've been out of the league for like 5, 10 years. Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. But like I understand the mindset that I'm the best. I get that. And physically, he may or may not have been more gifted as a receiver. That doesn't matter. The GOAT's got the numbers, the GOAT's got the crown, and you're putting him at 3 or 4? Stop it.
He didn't even say who his three would be or who his four would be. He just said Tio would be right behind me. Wherever I'm at, Tio is behind me. Which is that's fine.
I get that. I believe he was on T.O.'s show or podcast or something. So I don't know if it was just like, all right, you're better than Jerry Rice. But if you're talking to Terrell Owens and you say, well, I'm better than you, but you're better than Jerry Rice, I'll be like, well, neither of us are. So I don't know.
See, the only argument against Jerry is he played with 3 MVP quarterbacks. Nobody else has ever done that I know of off the top of my head. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Steve Young, and then Rich Gannon to finish his career. I mean, you can throw up some numbers when you got 3 MVP point guards getting you the rock at all times. You know, but still, to do it for the length of time that he did it, it's unheard of. Other than it would take Larry Fitzgerald would have to have 2 to 3 more quality seasons just to match his reception total.
Since I was a small child, there's like legends that go with being Jerry Rice. How his dad was a brick mason and his hands were so soft and so great because he was used to catching these bricks, and that's why his hands were so good. And how hard he worked. It was comparable to how hard Antonio Brown works. All these things that go into that. Sure, you had the 3 quarterbacks. He made those quarterbacks pretty good too. It wasn't just them.
I would also credit a large portion of it as well to the invention of the West Coast offense. That helped him tremendously. That was new to the league when they started running it, and people didn't know how to cover it.
Right. And he was the master of the 10-yard in, 3-yard quick slant. He ran clean routes, one of the first ones to ever do it.
Have you ever heard the story of how Jerry Rice got discovered by a scout?
Nope, but I'm going to hear it right now.
All right, it's super interesting, right? So Jerry Rice plays for Mississippi Valley State, right? Back then, in the 80s, nobody's going to scout Mississippi Valley State or whatever, no one cares.
Right.
So there's an NFL scout. He's going to scout a different guy. Well, on his way to the game to scout this other guy at another college, either he gets a flat tire or his car breaks down. So he's got to sit there overnight or whatever, wait for his car to get fixed. He's asking around, hey, what do I do in this town to pass the time? They say, hey, why don't you go check out this college game? Guess who goes off that night?
I guess the great one did.
Exactly.
Mississippi Valley State.
It could have never been.
Here's what happens if this guy doesn't see him? Is he an undrafted free agent? Does anyone sign him? Is he just lost in the wind?
Do the 49ers win those Super Bowls? You know?
I don't know.
Is Montana Montana? Is Steve Young Steve Young? Who has all the records if it's not Jerry Rice?
Who's the other receiver with him? I know they had Roger Craig in the backfield. Who's the other receiver in San Fran at that time?
Ooh. That would be a
that'd be a
Russ. Can you help me on this one?
Yeah. Hey, old guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if somebody steps up. Obviously, he probably doesn't do it as well, if I had to guess. But the West Coast offense would have showed up. It's not like it wouldn't have got there.
Here's the thing. For me, what made Jerry great was this dude obviously, everybody knows bias is out. I'm a giant, hardcore, my whole life, Oakland Raider, Las Vegas Raider fan. What Jerry did from 35 to 40, that part of his career, 1,000-yard seasons, making Pro Bowls between 35 and 40 as a receiver. He had 1,000-yard seasons with the Raiders. Him and Tim Brown teamed up, took us on that magical Super Bowl season ride. You know, we didn't come through in the end, but that season was just amazing. And for him to be able to do it at that age, you know, the speed, you know, he was never a burner. You know,
no.
His routes were just so crispy that.
And as long as the ball was in the vicinity, he was going to catch it.
It kind of disappointed me a little bit because I've always been a Randy guy. I love Randy with the jump man and the athleticism, playing at Marshall, destroying the Cowboys in his rookie season.
I think we could both say the same. Like, Randy's way the hell up there on our list.
Yeah. But you can't come out and criticize somebody that's clearly the best. Like, every position in football, I think, is up for debate, except for wide receiver. It's the one question that people don't talk about because everybody it's Jerry.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, it's never even been questioned. So for me to see that the other day, I know I hit the group text with it. I texted to you. I was like, what? What the fuck is Randy talking about?
All right. Who would be your 5 if you were going to throw up a 1 through 5 list, wide receivers?
5 wide receivers.
Start from the front and work your way back.
Is there we're not throwing out dudes from the 60s.
Let's go 1990 and up.
I mean, we could just say Jerry Rice forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously Jerry's 1, and I would say Randy's number 2.
Just because he's the best athlete to ever play the position?
It was almost like how Wilt Chamberlain revolutionized playing center in the NBA.
Right.
Nobody says you got Rice. Everyone says you got Moss. So in that aspect, yes, he brought that to the game.
Right.
He changed the position. Okay, so you got Rice, you got Moss. After that, there's a lot of options. Yes, you have T.O. I think T.O.'s in there. I don't know if he's 3.
Playing that Super Bowl on the broken leg, that was pretty damn impressive.
That's amazing. And he was very consistent for his whole career, basically, even when he went, 49ers to the Eagles. There was no difference. It wasn't like he switched quarterbacks and he sucked more. He was still good.
I always thought it was wild how T.O. broke the single game 49er reception record in Jerry Rice's last game.
Right. Which is, I know that's also another thing that's weird is how that, like, okay, well, in San Francisco, Montana went to Young, and then Rice went to Owens. That is wild for 49ers fans in a short period of time. That's unrelated to my top 5 receivers, but
yeah.
After that, I think it gets real hairy.
I think that's really where it turns into a personal opinion. Who did you like?
You got Larry Fitzgerald, who's another super consistent his whole career. The guy's still playing.
Right.
He's not as effective as he used to be, but I mean,
he's pushing his late 30s. I mean, what can you say?
was he like 38?
Yeah, he's up there.
Obviously you got the guys that are still playing. You got Nuke. You got Julio. I think Julio Jones is in that conversation. I think Nuke will be eventually. I know he's still relatively young for a wide receiver.
Does Megatron get penalized for calling it quits early?
I think he does, but he doesn't. Like he's right there too. I mean, if you're gonna penalize Megatron, you got to penalize Barry when you talk about Lions that the Detroit Lions made retire, and B, all-time greats that retired early.
I got to throw out my guy. Do you give Tim Brown any love? Is he in your top 10?
No. Like I can appreciate Tim Brown for what he was and what he did, but I don't think he's a top 10 receiver all time.
I just got to throw him out because he is Mr. Raider.
Well, that's like I feel like that's like me saying, well, what about Hines Ward?
Well, yes, everyone loves Hines Ward. So you got to give him that.
We're counting college?
Hey. He was also
I think if there was like a top 25 list, I think he's on that.
What about Chris Carter?
I think Carter's at the back end of the top 10.
Yeah.
Did enjoy Chris Carter. I'm trying. There's somebody I'm forgetting that should be a bigger deal. I'm trying to think of the quarterbacks that
I hear
had a lot of
success. Steve Largent.
Well, see that. I mean, you always think about that, but like, I didn't see him play. I know about Steve Largent. He played for the Seahawks. I don't. That's like saying fucking Lynn Swann. I don't know. He was probably really good. I've seen like 8 of his plays because they're on ESPN Classic once in a while. You know. Right. Or what's the other guy that played for? I don't even know right now. It doesn't matter. Old guys that I've never seen them play a full game. I've seen like highlight plays when it's like, hey, on Thanksgiving in 1964, this guy did this. Well, fucking great. I don't know what happened.
I just, especially when you're talking about receivers, I think it's such a different game now where they have to run more routes. They have to run more precise routes. It's more wide open. You know, the less talented you are, the more you're going to get exposed now because the defensive athletes are so much better, bigger, faster, stronger. You know, the only thing the receivers don't have to worry about as much is taking their head off, getting killed coming over the middle because that's pretty much outlawed. You know, thank you, Vontaze Burfict.
Hey, Wes Welker made a living off of getting his head taken off.
Do slot receivers get any love? Is there any slot receivers that would be in the top 10?
I mean, probably not. They're useful. You need them.
Yeah.
But that's not your game breaker. That's not your star. Yeah, they make a difference when you're trying to win ball games, but you're not putting them on the cover of Madden.
What about the greatest show on turf? They had 2. You consider
Isaac Bruce,
those guys top 10ers?
Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt. I don't know. I don't think so. Bruce may be back half of that top 10, I still don't think so.
It's about to get very, very tough for Hall of Fame voters with these inflated numbers because the wide receivers that are going to be trying to get in is going to explode here in the next decade, and a lot of really good receivers are going to get left out.
So. Well, I think at the same time, that's going to happen with quarterback numbers too, and I know we've talked about that. Guys like Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, their numbers are ridiculous, but they didn't really win anything.
Right.
Or Phillip Rivers too.
Yeah, I think I'm a lot more harder on those guys than you are. You know, I think who was it? Deion Sanders recently, Barstool was asking him a lot of guys about, you know, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Is this guy? And Deion was like, no. Unless you had a profound impact and you changed the game, he said you shouldn't be a Hall of Famer. Unless you did something magical in the postseason, you did something that won your team a Super Bowl, you were X amount of time Pro Bowl, All-Pro, you know. He didn't want to see just above average, really good guys get in. He wanted to keep it the elite of the elite, you know?
Well, if you're going to go off that basis, we're going to say, well, Nick Foles is a Hall of Famer, but Matt Ryan's not. That doesn't make any sense.
No, they would also have to have a career full of great stats. You would just have to do something that made you stand out above the rest of the league. Matt Ryan's never done anything that made him stand out, you know?
He could have won an MVP.
He did win an MVP.
Or he did win MVP.
Yeah. He was the one that won it when my boy broke his leg.
Right. Well, like, I'm all for that. I don't want it to be the Hall of Very Good. I've heard that a million times. It's not the Hall of Very Good. It's the Hall of Fame. But Are we going to start kicking people out that are already in that shouldn't be in? Like, It's all personal opinion. It's all human error is involved. So I don't know. Just like you say, well, Matt Ryan shouldn't be in. And I look at the stats historically. I'm like, on paper, he should be.
No Super Bowls. Here's the thing that really stands out to me that tells me whether you are a Hall of Famer or not. And this is what I would use if I was a voter. At any point in your career, were you the best at your position in the entire league? And say Matt Ryan's case, we both would agree, at no point was he ever the best quarterback in the league.
Well, his MVP says he was. Right.
How many guys would you take over Matt Ryan, even in his prime? A good bit.
I'd say, but I'd say Matt Ryan's been back half of top 10 for his entire career.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere between 8 to 15 for me personally.
Right, like probably hovering around 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's 13, 14 years of that is pretty damn good.
But then you ask yourself, should you be in the Hall of Fame because you were the 10th best quarterback for a very long time?
I mean, I get it. I'm just saying, like, who's drawing this line in the sand, because it could be different for every person. That's just a hard thing to do.
And then like the guys that have the moments, like the moments that changed the NFL forever, like when Eli scrambled out of that sack and threw up that catch to David Tyree. You add that moment that changed the history of the NFL with his career statistics, which are pretty damn good. He's a Hall of Famer.
But that's what I'm saying. Now you're talking about this person made this grading scale, this person made this one. That's why there's a panel. And I mean, that's all you can really do.
Mm-hmm. So, it's going to be a tough job to be a voter. I'm glad we just get the bullshit and drink moonshine and talk about it with no repercussions.
I tell you what, I'd vote as long as my vote is anonymous, because I don't want to hear any bullshit.
Did we get five? I think we had Jerry, Randy.
We kind of stopped talking about that.
T.O.
You put Chad Johnson in that category?
No.
No? Okay.
So we're settled on Jerry, T.O., and Randy, right? That's three?
I think Julio is absolutely in there career-wise.
All time?
I mean, from, I guess, 90s forward. Yeah, I think Julio is one of the – and Calvin Johnson.
So those two would
Those two were like the bringing in the new wave, the guys that kind of play that way.
Right.
I don't know. I'm sure there's something big we're missing. I mean, I didn't do any research. I'm just going off the top of my head. So,
see, those last two guys for me, availability would be a big thing, because Julio and Megatron both miss a ton of games.
Mm-hmm.
And then Julio is kind of allergic to the end zone for like the last 5 years.
Yeah. But I mean, for his entire, he's like 35 years old.
I don't think he's that old.
Is he not that old? I don't know. I'd have to check. I don't know.
He's definitely slowing down though.
Yeah. Is there anyone else big that we're missing? You know what really makes me sad is guys like Josh Gordon or Justin Blackmon that could have been somewhere in this conversation that just couldn't keep their head on straight. Because I remember watching Justin Blackmon, like he had like one good year, and then he was like, I'm an idiot, I can't stop doing. But he was so damn good. And I think Gordon was the same kind of way. He had a couple games where he just took over the game.
I think Oklahoma State had a couple guys like that, but they came out running that wild, what's it called, air raid offense or whatever in the conference that they play in. And then you get to the NFL and, you get drafted by the Jags and you look over and your quarterback's a dumpster and you're like, I can't do the same thing I did at OK State.
So I guess I'm just going to go smoke pot. I don't know.
There's a lot of guys that I love that would be in the very, Hall of Good. Like you said, like Hines Ward. I think Plaxico Burress had a good run for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Carter's definitely a top 10er for me just because his hands were so good.
Right.
Tim Brown's in my top 10 just because of consistency alone.
Right. What about those guys, the guys that played with Elway, like
Rod Smith?
Rod Smith, yeah. There was a white guy, too.
Ed McCaffrey?
Yeah.
That's racist.
Sorry, that was the best description. Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith, they had a good run. I'm trying to think. Favre had Antonio Freeman and Robert Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
They were pretty damn good for a while.
So I think that we can safely say that 1, 2, and 3.
What about Marvin?
Whoa.
I knew there was one we forgot about.
Marvin's the better of the two, but Reggie Wayne was no slouch either.
They were both very good.
As far as being a precise route runner and hitting the spot when you're supposed to hit the spot and cutting on a dime, Marvin's up there.
Yeah.
He was a route running wizard.
I knew we would forget one. We probably forgot another one. That one just came to me.
So I was saying, I think we can both agree that 1, 2, and 3 in some order is Jerry Rice and T.O. and Randy.
I would say it's in that order. I don't even think there's any arguing about it.
Right. And then those last two spots, 4 and 5, would be a personal preference.
I think that's where you
set. You would think.
I think that's where you hit your debating. Is
right.
At 4 and 5. Yeah.
That would come in where do you want a huge receiver that's going to go up and get it? Do you want a burner? Do you want a route runner? Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I also think Randy Moss is wrong, even though I love him. That's
Fair.
Ridiculous. To bring it back to where this conversation started, Randy Moss is not better than Jerry Rice. That's the consensus.
I would like to see some kind of simulation model to where, let's just say, all right, so Randy had his best years, obviously, with Brady. What if
he had really good years?
Are we having a different conversation?
He had a couple really good years with Culpepper.
Right, but it was Culpepper,
doing the Stafford to Johnson thing. Hey, bro.
Yeah. I mean, his rookie year with Randall Cunningham.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he played with Cunningham.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like doing I like doing the what ifs, but I hate acting like they're realistic and they should go into the discussion.
Right.
So I like talking about it, but the reality is Jerry Rice was better, and it doesn't matter who he played with or who he didn't play with.
I love Randy. He's my guy. The Jerry Rice and Jay Williams commercial I think it was for Nike, was probably my favorite sports commercial ever, when they're playing high school basketball together in West Virginia. I love that commercial.
Yeah.
If you've never seen it, go on YouTube, type in Randy Moss, Jay Williams, West Virginia boys playing high school basketball. Just a good old boy. Great commercial. But for me personally, Jerry's always going to be my guy. Not only because he's the best receiver ever, but because what he did in Oakland to help revive us. And he helped Rich Gannon win an MVP, which was the highlight of my football watching career up to this point.
You're not excited about what Randy Moss did for Oakland when he was there?
I choose to forget that time. That's why I was saying, if you're going to go between the two, I'm going to go with Randy. I'm going to go with Jerry at all times because Randy kind of melded in.
He did get quality footage for the Randy Moss music video with the afro in the locker room in a Raiders jersey.
And then we go and trade him to the Pats for like a 4th or a 6th rounder, and he goes to have one of the best seasons in history.
Did he just not want to be in Oakland? Was he just like, fuck this?
Who would want to play with Kerry Collins? The guy was an alcoholic.
I think Kerry Collins is awesome. Hey, he had a cannon. Him and Jeff George were like, Kerry was the drunk version of Jeff George. They could throw the shit out of the ball, and they're just not very good. They should have been pitchers. Right. Well, I would say they're probably pretty good at quarterback. They just weren't very good at leading. Nobody's going to listen to these guys. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. 1, 2, 3 have been decided. 4 and 5 through 10, probably a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I could sit here and talk for like 3 hours if we're just bullshitting.
Yeah. I'd like to see other people submit their top 5 in their order that they think, and then maybe we can do another one or break down their top 5s in the comments.
Okay. I'll actually post it with everyone watching. I'll post 1 through 3, and then 4 and 5. Like, I don't know. It's just send me yours when we're done.
Right.
What you want me to put there? I'll put those in parentheses and say what do y'all got.
Awesome.
So, all right. Well, this has been cool. Very simple, very easy. We just hop on the phone. We don't set up our whole studio deal, get the mics hooked up. This takes 10 minutes for us to walk outside, get in our garage bars, and shoot the shit for a minute on the phone. So we're gonna try this out. Anyway, y'all hit us with a like, share, follow.
Appreciate it, guys.